Hey everybody, before we start on this one, I have a quick disclaimer. This video is going to be different from my usual content. We'll be discussing some pretty deep and emotional events that have happened recently related to immigration enforcement or ICE and the things that have been happening in Minneapolis. My goal here isn't to be political, it's to just share my experience and bring us together, as well as get some help to the people that need it. If this isn't something you're in a place to engage with right now, feel free to skip this one. I'll have regular content coming out very soon. For those of you who don't know, I live in Minneapolis, and this has been pretty personal for me. Alex Preddy grew up with a really close friend of mine, and the pain and fear that I've witnessed in this community has been very real. I've seen firsthand how the actions of ICE have affected people here, and it's been deeply upsetting to witness what families have been going through. While the immediate ICE presence has lessened, the impact hasn't gone away. There's been lasting damage and a lot of people that still need help, both here and in cities across the country. If you want to help, there's a few different ways you can do so. There will be a link below to the International Institute of Minnesota, a nonprofit that helps immigrants, refugees, and displaced people to build stable lives in Minnesota. Donations go to wherever they think needs it most, whether that's legal services, English classes, job training, direct support for like food and that kind of a thing. Second, there will be some Etsy listings of the art shown in this video, and you can buy prints of those, and 100% of the profits will go to the International Institute of Minnesota. Also, please keep in mind that none of us are perfect. I slipped up in this video and used a term that is not politically correct, illegal immigrants, and my friend Zero was kind enough to set me straight and help me learn something and better myself. So just please keep an open mind when you're listening to this and try to learn something yourself. Finally, my goal here is to just have an honest conversation, share my perspective, and use this platform in a way that can contribute to something meaningful. Thank you guys for being here and for listening. Hope you enjoy the video. Thanks. Welcome back, guys. I'm here for a strange and special episode of my YouTube channel. I'm joined by Luiz Martinez, who is a concept artist, a freelance concept artist, member of the Concept Art Association, as well as Zero Pachame, who is also a Concept Art Association member. He's also a concept artist, and he's an art director. And Anthony Jones, who also a concept artist, art director, and YouTuber. And as a side note, AJ, this doesn't get you out of being on my channel in the more traditional sense, so we'll swing around back to that.
No discounts. This is the quota. I'm just kidding, of course.
Yeah, so we're here because I wanted to do a episode to address some stuff, and it's tough to talk about, but you've already seen the thumbnail. So for those of you who don't know, I am living in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and the last few weeks with what's been going on in the city have just been really, really hard. There's been a lot of fear, a lot of anger, a lot of pain, and just being in the thick of it has been... I've never lived through something like this, especially not this directly. I've seen atrocities happen elsewhere in the world, but when it's down the street, literally like some of the stuff is happening blocks away from where my sister lives, or right where my sister lives, it's scary stuff. And with the deaths of Alex Preddy and Renee Good, it's just something that I wanted to talk about. We can kind of go through how art is a medium for expression and like dealing with emotions, but also I wanted to use this as sort of a platform just to help some of the people that are being affected by all this stuff. And then on an even more personal note, a friend of mine was like a good childhood friend with Alex Preddy, and hearing him like talk about Alex and who he was as a person was just it really hit home, and it made me want to just do something to help, and we can kind of get into more my personal experience with this when we talk about my art. But yeah, we all did art for just kind of on the theme of trying to bring people together, sort of in a unified way, but also like calling out the things that we disagree with that are happening on the streets here in Minneapolis and elsewhere in the country. 'cause it's all over. Yeah, so anything you guys want to add there before we start looking at some videos?
I mean, I didn't know it was that close to you, brother.
Yeah,
Damn, that's
yeah,
crazy. I'm sorry to hear all that. I
yeah.
knew I knew that you were connected to it to the city. I didn't realize it was like you're like down the street from some of this stuff.
Yeah, and
That's
like I
crazy.
mean, it's all over the city, and we're our neighborhood specifically where I'm living is not as scary of a spot, but like I mean, I go and climb and do stuff right downtown area, and there's stuff happening all over the place, and like I said, my sister and like friends, I have friends that are not they're not white, but they're citizens, and they're still scared to walk around without their paperwork and stuff. So it's pretty direct. Yeah, and it's been tough.
Yeah, man. Sorry to hear that. Well, I'm happy to help however I can, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. Even though we're not like starting a witch hunt here, and again, I'm not trying to like divide people. It takes some courage to just like talk about this stuff sometimes. So I really appreciate you guys just showing up. With that, I think let's just jump into the art. So what you're seeing on the screen, I had done a little bit ahead of time, just kind of was doodling some Yeti designs. The theme that I wanted to go for was just kind of an expression of rage, to be honest. I was really angry with a lot of the things that had happened. I didn't know how to process it. And I wanted to do something that sort of represented Minnesota culture and lore a little bit. I thought about doing like a Paul Bunyan thing for a while, but it didn't seem to fit how I was feeling. So yeah, I started out with those sketches, just kind of doing design work. Pretty quickly moved into this Hulk-like pose, and then yeah, just started working through it. One thing that I don't know was like super successful, it's super subtle. I try to incorporate the Minnesota flag. Oh, you can see like me doing some like graphical-ish representations of that here, like kind of on the chest, but it ends up being pretty covered up, so it's not like you wouldn't necessarily notice it just looking at it. Yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of art is, we can express all kinds of things, even if it's symbolized very small.
And you can see too, initially I had the Yeti terrifying some ice agents, but due to lack of time and I did want to make it a little more symbolic and less outright violent, I dialed it back a little bit so you can see kind of the end how I go there.
You definitely weren't the only one with that thought, just as a heads up. Like you definitely were not the only one.
And like I'm okay saying like I was super angry, like I wanted to just go out in the streets and yell fuck ice with everybody else and all that stuff, but it's hard in these times to like step back and be like, is that really going to help people? Like I think right. It's important to be able to express that, but also you want to be coming from a place of like how are we going to bring people together, because we keep getting further and further apart,
right,
and it's hard.
Well, for what it's worth, mine definitely says fuck ice.
I know it does. that's totally okay,
yeah, but to compound your point, I don't disagree with you. But you know what's funny? Because that crossed my mind as well, right? As I was thinking about it, I was so angry, you know? And a lot of this stuff went across my mind as well. I'll probably talk more about it when we look at my time lapse. But just to kind of primer, I thought to myself, the fact that I'm even afraid to write that makes me feel like I gotta write that.
Yeah.
I was just like, but I don't disagree that there is a tone of anger and frustration that can come from that, but I didn't want to be violent either, right? I literally, like to your point, I would have been happy to walk the streets, see an ICE agent, that's out there in Minneapolis and to their face say fuck ICE.
Yeah.
You know? And if I felt that I would have been able to do that at the very least, then I have no issues drawing that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I wouldn't have done is if I have a picture, and you know, some of our colleagues and some of the artists were very happy to draw some ICE agents violently attacked. But
Yeah.
I felt like that's not what I would have done. But I definitely would have yelled at some people, like
Yeah,
to
and
their face.
even
I
drawing,
would have
even
never.
even if we were drawing like somebody getting disemboweled in the most horrific way, there's a difference between expressing that and promoting it or doing it. And I just want to make it clear, like, none of us are promoting, you know, violence towards any group or people. But you know, we're allowed to be super angry about it.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Right. I think it also comes from like a lot of like powerlessness, right? Like we see how they're utilizing force and like separating families, and it's like it's nothing new, right? Like, but it's something so visceral in our faces that like having that front row seat really changes the way that you process it, right? So I think that like we're just going through all these traumatic events together, and it's just like, well, what do we do?
Yeah.
So I think that's a big element, a big part of it.
On that note too, like because I have such a front row seat to this thing, what's been crazy to me is like it's just obvious that they're attacking and harming people that are not criminals. Most of the time they're not even illegal aliens, like, and there's no way they're not going about it in, even if you were really wanting to get rid of like the dangerous illegal immigrants, this is just not the way to go about it. It's not helping anyone. So, yeah,
it's incredibly
that's
impractical.
Just something I want to share is like someone who's here. It's like I have a lot of friends that are immigrants of the legal variety, or just people that are of citizens that are, you know, Indian, Black, Latino, and they're all scared, including like my white friends. You know, like a lot of my white friends are afraid to go on the streets sometimes, depending on where they are. So it's just not good for anyone.
Yeah. I would like to comment on that. I think when Alex Pretty got like shot and murdered, I was like, all right, listen, what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah.
And the amount of people that kind of were arguing, like, yeah, I mean, what do you expect? Like, it wasn't a lot. I think a lot of people that I at least encountered on my socials were like, yeah. This is crazy. But the very few people that I did interact with, because I did interact with a few people, I don't have time to interact with every single person that I disagree with, but sometimes I like to focus on one or two people, right? I have enough time for that. And I was just kind of going through the logic of what they were missing, you know?
Yep.
And I think it's something that I constantly would hear is, well, it's the law this, or they're illegal that, you know?
Yeah.
And the part that bothers me about a lot of this is that it's almost like a automatic win if you just say, hey, the law and illegal, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's such a shallow way at looking. Oh, the drawing's done. Looked great.
Oh yeah, we kind of missed that the drawing part, but we can get back to that.
yeah. But what was great, or like, sorry, what was confusing to me is like, and what throws me off when I'm like listening to some individuals that are arguing against like what I believe is morally right, is, you know, I think they understand that this is not great, and to use some sort of like matter of fact, like, well, the law this and the illegality of this is like hard to argue against, but I'm like, it misses the humanity of the problem.
Oh, totally.
You know?
Yep.
And I think that people also just forget that there's sometimes laws that are just wrong. Like, we get it wrong, you know, that they're either like, you know, ethically wrong, or they're like morally wrong, or they're like logistically wrong. That's why we have amendments. We change laws all the time, you know? And so to be like, hey, it was a law, kind of like also loses context of history, especially American history, because it was once legal to own slaves, right? And 100%. I think people understand that when you start to kind of break away from the matter-of-fact approach and just be a little bit more like logical in terms of like coming from a empathetic position, right? Rather than like, okay, let me take a couple steps back. I get bothered when people are trying to devalue human life so easily. Why don't we start from a position where no human life should die, and the death that we just witnessed, let's just start from the position of that shouldn't have happened, and then work backwards from there. Not the, well, what did you expect type of position, because it makes like human life so fickle and so like
I think that's like a big root problem to this whole thing, because I mean, even the people that are calling for these terrible illegal alien murderers that frankly don't really exist, it's villainization and dehumanization of immigrants in general, and then it's just easy to be like, oh well, they're not me, you know, like they're a problem. So I think that is
absolutely,
that's such an important note. I mean,
it's a clear definition of like dividing and conquer, right? Like you have a population which like we're all struggling, and you have to point the finger at somebody. Also, I do like to make a couple of corrections, if you will. Like nobody really is illegal. Like you cannot be illegal in a country. You can be undocumented, which means that like you either passed a port of entry and you did not go through the channels to get in, or you have overstayed your visa, which is like the vast majority of the people.
Yep.
But even utilizing the merit of factly of like, oh well, what do you expect? You know, they were undocumented. Not necessarily that if they have broken a law, it is not a criminal law. It is it's a civil infraction being undocumented. And beyond that fact, the enforcement of those, of that law needs to be followed as well. So it's like you have people breaking into houses, like they tried to break into the Ecuadorian embassy, like ICE, I mean, right? So they are not following the law. In the enforcement of the law, they are saying that they are trying to enforce. So that in and of itself is an illegality. So it's only illegal if it benefits them. And by them, there's more to that, but trying to keep it concise here, it's almost as if like a certain group of people cannot break the law, but others can, right? And I think that is the biggest hypocrisy that adds to the powerlessness, that adds to the anger, that adds to like, what am I going to do to improve this? And I think that like doing stuff like this, being in community, caring for your neighbors, you know, having neighborhood watches, all those types of things, like arming yourself in knowledge and other things, I think it's very important to be able to protect your community and protect the people that can't protect themselves, right? So I used to do a lot of advocacy back when I was in Florida, with a lot of immigration and undocumented people. I worked with them, helping them many moons ago on these types of situations and how they can seek help and counsel, so on and so forth. Because when you have a population that's like constantly being pointed the finger, because this all started many years ago. It didn't start with Trump or anything like that.
Yeah, right.
So that there's been protocols in place that have made things worse for a certain type of people across all of the U.S. history, like Anthony was saying. But it's just been exacerbated by many different types of actors today, and it's always those vulnerable communities that end up getting the short end of it, right? It's just that now it's also spreading to neighboring communities and people, you know, like Freddie, like and people that are residents, people that are asylum seekers, people that have status and are citizens, and even naturalized citizens now, or even they don't want to travel because they're afraid of something happening, even though they are full-fledged citizens of the U.S. So
yeah, I mean, like if you're in Minneapolis, it really shouldn't matter who you are. Like you shouldn't want untrained people with no what's the word I'm trying to say? Like no accountability, walking around with guns. You know, like it's and their
100%.
identity is concealed. Like that's not good for anyone. Like,
yeah, 100%.
I mean, I'm a very light-skinned Puerto Rican. I'm also Mexican, but you can trace my family back to here. Like, so when they're like, "Where'd your family come from?" I'm like, "Down the road. We didn't come over on boats. We didn't come from a king. Like, we were just here. Well, we probably had kings, but you know, that's a different story." But now, like, my wife is like, "You need to walk around with your passport ID in addition to your regular ID," and I don't have any white friends that do that. So, like, it's kind of we're kind of at a point of stupidity, and it's just blatant racism.
yeah.
Like they just want to blame somebody that's not them. So.
Oh, brother, you guys are preaching. Yeah. Again, like I think it's best to like think about it from the human standpoint, and you guys are doing a great job of like kind of thinking of some really good, you know, practical and pragmatic positions. But I always try to like get people to think about it just like literally from the perspective of like being a human being. It's like, okay, I've met all sorts of people, from, you know, undocumented to documented. I've traveled to different countries. I've met people from all around the world, right? And it's not obvious to me that people suck from everywhere else. You know what I mean? Like it's like everyone's awesome, and most people that you meet are generally good, you know? Especially when they're from different countries. Like you get a lot of access. Yeah. You get like, you know what I mean? Like get a lot of access to their cultures and their insights and their, like, you know, beliefs. And you start to realize we're all more alike than we're different. You know what I mean?
100%.
And so whenever I hear people trying to convince me that there's some sort of like epidemic in our nation, there's like a laundry list of stuff that come to mind, but you know, undocumented immigration is like on the bottom of that list.
Oh yeah.
I can't think of this is what I'm saying. Like I can't think of like even the people who might have thought that this was a problem. Like if you really ask them to like think of somebody that represents this ideal, you know, I would be shocked if they can name somebody. You know, obviously they're going to be people that have really bad experiences. This is not what I'm getting at, right? I'm just saying it's like such a low number. Whereas if I ask any of you guys, how's like, you know, healthcare treating you? This is like a universal problem all throughout America.
Yeah.
You know, this to me is like why I think someone like Bernie Sanders was very popular, because he was always talking about that. And it's because everybody's like, yeah, we all fucking have bad experiences with healthcare in America. You know, if I asked any one of you, we don't need to get into it, but if I asked any one of you guys had like whatever experience you might have had with our, like, you know, medical system or in health insurance system, I'm sure every one of you guys, if not you, somebody you know, had like a terrible experience.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I have personal stories, and like most of the people that are close to me have all struggled with the medical system.
But if I asked you like how many like experiences you've had with, whether they were documented or not, immigrants in general, like how many bad experiences you've had, like this is what I'm trying to get at. Like it doesn't even make sense in the merits of, I think, people's day to day. So it's always been such a fascinating like argument to me, because I never really feel like I know what you're talking about, because I just don't see it, you know?
Well, that's one thing. Yeah, that's really what I wanted. One thing I wanted to like voice is just, you know, I know people that are not from here or not from cities, and they don't have experiences at all. It's not that they even have bad experiences. It's just they don't have experiences with other people, and they'll ask me like, "Oh, is Minneapolis terrifying? Is there like crime everywhere?" And I'm like, "No, it's great. Like, come see for yourself. Come like meet these people." And then it's so
Yeah.
easy to understand like who the bad guys are when you're here, when it's like, oh well, I've been to all these different cultural places and restaurants and met all these awesome people, but now there's these guys walking around with guns like persecuting these people for reasons. It's like it's so obvious when you're here and you've like had that. I think it's just the lack of experience that people have if they haven't traveled or been around to like see it for themselves. It's easier to be fed a lie.
Dude, yeah, let me add to that. Let me scope it down to like just the states. Like you're right. So I moved to Florida, right? And I have some friends. So I'm originally from California, and I have some friends who are like, oh boy, good luck. Dude, I like Florida, dude. Florida's fine.
Yeah.
And then you know, I have people from like Idaho that were I have people from Idaho that were really critical of California. And it's just like California is fine too. And Idaho is fine. You know, like it was just so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. I'm gonna let somebody else talk. My wife's just come to talk to me. Hold on.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, on that, I mean, I grew up as a military brat, and so I spent many of my days in different cities or different countries. Culture shock. Living in Germany for the formative years of my life, and coming here, and the one thing I tell everyone is, we as military brats went to the movie theater, and we stood for the Pledge of Allegiance. Like, you don't do that anymore at all, but like we stood for it. And then now I come here as a young kid, and I stood up, and everyone in the theater was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "The pledge is about to start." That's how different it is from everything. Like, yeah, that has nothing to do with Germany per se, but like Americans didn't grow up watching a movie with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
At least unless it's in time of war or they're on foreign soil.
Yeah.
And it's just like, all that stuff is weird. Trying not to cuss. We're ready to drop all kinds of F-bombs.
By the way, I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Continue on. Tell us more of Florida, man. I mean, Florida. I also live in Florida, so I could say these things.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
I think three-quarters of us are Florida man in this chat, but yeah.
But if all you ever heard about Florida was Florida man, like, yeah, you're gonna think Florida's nuts. Like,
yeah. Exactly. So we live like near Tampa, and it's been wonderful. You know, like we like it a lot. You know, my wife's had made some really good friends, a few of which we think are going to be, you know, really close friends of ours. You know what I mean? And it's just like, you know, and again, this is like localized, right? This is just like between the states. And then I think when you imagine like hearing all these news about all these people and all these problems, like so easily, so readily, it can easily blind you that like it's just not that simple. And there's always going to be places that might have it a little bit rougher than others. You know, and there's obviously going to be places that are genuinely war torn or like, you know, completely falling off the face of the earth. But when you think about locally in our country, whenever I hear words like invasion or like mass criminals and like you're saying, the correction of like illegals, like it makes it seem like there's this crazy problem because of these words that are so much more hyperbolic, like when describing a lot of the challenges here in the States, you know. And so then like, when you say all this stuff, it's like there's a war, and then you put troops on the ground like you guys are saying with guns and masks, and then you realize, I mean, it wasn't that bad, you know. And you start seeing people die in the streets, you're like, actually, I don't think it was bad ever. Like, why are we dealing with this now? Like, it's actually clearly bad. And this is the part that I always try to remind people, like the humanity of, like, whenever you tell me, like, this person deserves it or that person deserves that, like, why are you saying, like, where is that coming from? You know, like, what's the spirit of that argument? Because I bet it's a mean-spirited argument, you know?
Yeah.
And
I mean, like, in historical context, not to be historical, but like in historical context, like it's utilized to sell a narrative, right? If you sell a narrative to people that are scared, it's a lot easier to get them to do anything, right? Like, you know, we give up all of our privacy in the sake of security, and then, you know, this imagined security that we no longer have even. So yeah, it's been endemic over the last, I don't know, like 100 years, in my humble, unknowledgeable opinion.
They're just bedtime stories that you tell your children to scare them into doing the right thing. And that's what they're trying to do to us, is like, oh, do the right thing. You know, the light brown person is terrible. The whatever is terrible. Like, it's just people trying to hold on to power. Just go out and vote.
Right.
Vote them all out.
Humanity starts with empathy. It starts by putting yourself in other people's shoes. So just to kind of like bolster you guys' points, I think that's where it starts, right? Like,
I was going to say, like, you mentioned like thinking about, okay, the individual. Let's look at a person like an ICE agent, right? There was this video, and this is like before some of the stuff that's been going on in Minnesota. There was a video that I saw of, I believe, like this ICE agent. He had like a gun with him. He's just kind of out in public. I think he was like off duty. I forget exactly the details, but you know, he gets arrested. He's basically saying, "Hey, look, I'm an ICE agent," you know, and or like a border patrol agent, one of those.
I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, and the cops was just like, listen to him, just let him talk, and you know, you listen to this guy, and he's really depressed. He's talking about how everybody hates him. He's like, nobody likes what we're doing, you know, like he felt really, you know, upset. And then come to find out that guy like overdosed on drugs. So there's this famous saying of like, hurt people hurt people. You know?
Yeah.
And I remember my buddy had somebody in his life that he strongly disagreed with and was very frustrated with him. And I said, you know, there's a difference on how people basically, you know, react to trauma or pain or depression and anxiety. And sometimes I think probably the vast majority of like people in this room, I can't speak for all of you guys, but the way that we're trying like having this conversation kind of gives me a clue that we probably manage our emotions a little bit more like in this way, where it's like we're trying to have a real understanding of what bothers us, what frustrates us, you know, what makes us upset. And sometimes that comes out and looks more attractive. Like it allows people to come in because you're letting people in, you know, and to help you. And that same kind of trauma given to a different person with different environment and different circumstances, that trauma can convert into something like anger, into hate, into like, you know, malice for others. And all of a sudden shifting responsibility and accountability to the external world because they can't potentially handle having some of that come to them from the inside, right? And I think what ends up happening though, like aesthetically, that's hard to react to because usually that's like a fucking bully, right? Like usually somebody like making fun of people. That's usually somebody who's saying they're like the top G and they know everything about everything, you know? Like they're like full of arrogance. And it's just like, it's hard to react to somebody that might be handling that trauma, you know?
Yeah.
But the aesthetics of it feel fucking dirty, you know? So like, I like that you brought up, it goes both ways. Like these individuals, clearly something went wrong. And what I don't think we're trying to do either is give them a pass, especially if those were extremely violent, you know?
Yeah. And
but if you watch some of these videos, oh, sorry, I'll make this last point. I'll pass the baton. There was like some videos, like including the ones where people were getting murdered, right? Where you could see a couple of the agents kind of not like, they were also in shock, but because they're on the other side of the line, they have to react in a way that has more loyalty and allegiance to the very people that if any other circumstance, they might have been on our side, but because they happen to be signed up and wearing the wrong uniform, they're just like, I guess we're just gonna have to roll with the punches, you know.
And that's the danger of generalization and stereotypes, is like one action by one person in the group wearing that flag, you can't apply it to all of them, because you can very, very quickly gets out of hand. There's a lot of videos of protesters walking up to ICE agents and saying things like, I love you, or like, would you like a hug, or like, do you want to come over for dinner, or like, would you like some food and stuff. And more often than not, the ICE agents are just like so shocked and disarmed, and it becomes clear that like a lot of these people are maybe not even used to people treating them that way, especially when you're in like a potentially volatile situation. I just think it's you gotta fight the hate with love, as cheesy as that sounds. It's like really the only thing we can do,
bro. Absolutely.
It's that Southern hospitality. Like,
yeah.
You're not getting along with somebody, you come to dinner and you talk your shit out. You don't do bad things. You just come over, and next thing you know, you're family.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we are. Is we're a little country, but we're also just one big ass family. Some people don't know that, and some people need to get kicked in the shins, but that's another story.
Yeah, and again, I think although we're trying to give some sympathy and some empathy to those who might found themselves on the wrong side of history, which I definitely believe many of these folks are, I mean, it doesn't stop them from being complicit. And accountability is a good term, because we need people to know that our society values, you know, our morals, you know. And if we can't find a solution to this, like you said, like de-escalating, I think is a good one. But I also think like we need like a patch update on our leadership.
Yeah.
Like all across the board, bro. You know, we just need a proper like hard reset. Because I think a lot of these people are just absolutely incompetent. And I think that incompetence alone could get any of us fired from any of our jobs, let alone lying, like bull-faced lying to everyone in the world. Like literally. Yeah. I was just thinking about like, could you guys imagine at any of our jobs, like imagine like we were working like a desk job and our boss comes up and says, hey, you know, what happened to all the client's files? Like I found them shredded. And you're just like, this bull-faced lie, and be like, I didn't shred any of that. In fact, I think it was Amy from accounting, you know? She's like clearly, you know, espionage spy for the company. And it's just like, well, actually, we have footage of you grabbing the files and shredding them, you know? Like, you would get fired immediately, caught in such a clear lie, you know? Yeah. Perhaps Amy is up to no good. Who knows? But you just straight up lied, dude.
And I think the reason people are able
or Amy. We all know that Amy.
I think the reason that people are able to, the reason that's even happening too is like, it's just there's such a lack of trust between party lines, or, you know, whatever groups you point at. Because it's like, you know, like, oh yeah, well, we have the footage. Okay, but I trust, but the other guy that you're working with, like Billy, is like, oh yeah, I know you guys have the footage, but trust me, he's cool. Like, don't worry about it. It's like,
oh, Billy.
Billy and Amy, dude.
I mean, like, there's been Billy and Amy, dude. That's the issue. We gotta get rid of them, and then we're fine. I mean, I remember back in high school when my best friend, we were talking about like just government and stuff, as you do in high school. And back then we were talking, you know, like that there's parts of the government that are completely geriatric, like they have not worked for X amount of time. So I mean, I'm not going to get into like exactly what it is, but like there's several things that have been not working for a very, very, very long time. Accountability being one of them, right? And when we step outside of the US and look at other governments, for example, you can see how that like trickles down into other countries and stuff, and how they deal with it. And for some other reason, we just have not been able to do so. And all of these things with ICE are also a trickle down of that, of things working a certain way in the system, and then being the inaction of not stopping a thing causes these giant surges of like the violence that we're seeing, the aggression that we're seeing. And also, as a small note, I would like to say that when it comes to like people that are being apprehended, or like undocumented people, or even citizens or residents, I even know of a cousin of a friend of mine that is a U.S. citizen and was held for 7 days without any sort of, whatsoever, just like, oh, we're just being taken now. The onus of responsibility should be placed with the people that have the higher ground in the power dynamic, because the worst thing that can happen to an ICE agent is, they lose their job, right? The worst thing that can happen to somebody on the other side is they lose their life. And we tend to have this sort of like, diametrically opposed, like, oh yes, like we're both, we're both equally responsible. And the reality is that it isn't, right? One has state force, and the other one is a citizen with a camera, or even just a person with a camera, 4-year-old kids. Like, I do want to make that very, very clear, right? That we're all human beings, but the onus of responsibility of that change should come from the people that say, this is where we stop, right? We have all the power, we have all the things, we need to stop this because clearly this isn't right. Because the other side can't really do much more than resist, and then when it resists, oh, we're violent protesters.
Like Chris Rock had a really good joke about this. I think this was actually a commentary on like the George Floyd killing. Mm-hmm. And what he was talking about is like, there's just some jobs where you can't fuck up, and you can't have bad apples. Right. He's like, yeah, there's a couple bad apples.
Yeah.
We just got a couple bad apples. He's like, could you imagine going on an airline and there's a few bad apple pilots? Like, they can't be,
right.
Yep. Like there's just some jobs.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah, there's just some jobs that absolutely require a little bit more responsibility of authority and accountability, right? The fact that they don't have body cams is a huge red flag,
Huge.
And
that they can like not have body covering their faces.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of sins that we have committed, which we have not been like, all right, we messed up, let's go ahead and like come back as a country, let's do something for the common good. We just kind of keep trudging along, and we never recognize that. I think that's also what's important about us coming together, talking about this, making these drawings and paintings, because it's making something visible, right? Which I think is very, very, very important, because the second that we stop talking about this, the second that we stop sharing the stories, the second that we stop talking to people that are willing to listen, these things become invisible, right? And when you become invisible, it's much easier for people just like to put it in the back of their minds, to like not think about it, because of all the other material realities that we talked about. That's just like, life is already so hard with the healthcare system, with the labor system, with the immigration system. Like, all of these systems compile on top of making things harder for anybody to think critically, which makes empathy much harder, right? Like, you're constantly in survival mode. So I think, there's plenty of literature on this. Like, the sins of America have never really been remunerated, whether it's for Black people, for brown people, for any sort of ethnicity, and not even talking about like the class system, right? So it's something we have to acknowledge and work on and process. What's gonna take, I don't know, but
that's a hard question to answer.
Oh, yeah, that's we're not going to solve that with this podcast.
What? We weren't? I thought that's what the goal was. All right. Next podcast. We'll solve.
Episode 2.
Yeah. We'll solve all the problems.
So to bring it back to the art, a note that we were talking about earlier, I did make the decision for that very reason of when we were talking about individuals or even groups, because I'm not trying to advocate violence towards individuals or groups, I chose to have the Yeti crushing ice more symbolically, because I do think the group, in terms of not the people that make up the group necessarily, but like the structure of ice is just the main part of the problem. It's not the only problem. Clearly this is like a super complicated issue, but at least with the art, to me that made more sense, where it's like, if I show them crushing a person, it's easy to dehumanize those people, whereas I show it crushing a symbolic thing, it's more of like, this concept is something we need to take care of. So that's just a little kind of explanation of my decision making there. We do have 3 more art pieces to get through, so if you guys want to move on.
Sure.
We're trying to solve stuff here.
It's true. It's true.
But no, really appreciate everyone chiming in your perspectives. It's giving me a lot to think about too.
So first of all, let me get in here with this. Man, I was angry, so I didn't read when the little pop-up came up on Procreate, and I just hit, proceed. Then no, that wasn't proceed, that was purge. So you don't get the first parts of the drawing.
No worries.
So my bad. I'm blaming Procreate.
It's less noticeable than you think. I skip, or I forget to record, or I have like crashes with Camtasia a lot, and it's fine. Oh, what the hell, Lewis? We're already so far into this thing.
No, just watch. It gets weird. Like I don't know what
It's
happened.
just finished.
It started jumping around. It's done. It's fine. Yeah. So yeah, the head was drawn bigger originally, and then so now I'm shrinking it down, but somehow it was already small. So
What?
I was going for Rufio look, man.
Yeah, I was
Like,
gonna
trying to
say,
be-
like, from a purely art technical sort of side, like what bird are you referencing? Any like specific bird heads there? Because it looks like something, but I can't quite place it, which is cool. Like that, it looks like.
They are actual penguins. It's sorry, scientists. I think it's the yellow-eyed or yellow-beaked penguin and the fairy penguin kind of mixed together.
Okay.
Basically, I've created my own little penguin that actually existed back in the day. Science, it's true. And I used to hunt down its own predators of the leopard seals and the fur seals, and just wear them as clothing. True story. I mean, you had to be there, so. But I mean, I didn't want to be angry and aggressive. I did. Like my first original drawing was like going to be like this little Puerto Rican frog that was just like beating the crap out of things. That's my logo. That's what I am. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Mexican. But then you go and watch the halftime show, and it's like love is greater than hate, and I'm like, well, shit. You just kind of killed my whole vibe with the art. Now I got to go and do something more positive. So,
That halftime show was
like,
killer, by the way.
It was.
From a totally political, super objective standpoint, I honestly think that was the best Super Bowl halftime show I've ever seen. Just from a production, storytelling standpoint.
Yeah, it was an incredible show. Me and the family were in tears, dude. Yeah, I think the thing that was beautiful about it, and I think I saw somebody on a reel talk about this, that it just feels like it's been a long time to just feel joy and just to see pure joy for 10-15 minutes was emotional, because it just feels like every other day, every other moment, it's just like the world sucks.
Yeah.
And Bad Bunny did an incredible job, and one of my favorite parts was when he was saying "We are America,"
Yeah.
we together, we are together, we are together, America, whatever it was. But it was just it was kind of a beautiful reminder of our we're all under this umbrella of the America continent. And it was fun to watch reels of Canadians getting shocked that they were mentioned. And they were just
Yeah.
wait,
Yeah.
what?
I saw that.
Yeah, there's one that's oh yeah, I'm from Canada. Ontario.
I'm from Ontario.
Yeah, they had a little Spanish rolled to the arm, but it's just it's just fun. It's just it's full of joy, and it makes people reminded of a time where we weren't always so on edge. And
The visuals, I mean, something I've always admired about the Latin community is just the community is important, and there is unity there. People are enjoying being together and helping each other out. That is just super cool.
Seeing my everyday childhood on TV was amazing. Like it always is amazing. Um, but like my favorite part was the little kid that was sleeping on the chairs. I'm like, every little kid has done that at some kind of party or whatnot. And my wife gets mad at me. She's like, "How is it you can sleep through a thunderstorm and whatnot?" So I'm like, "That's that's the bass from the DJ or from the band. It's just what we did." So, oh yeah, my art's done.
Yeah, so getting back to your penguin, are the colors that you picked? I know you said something about that in a chat. Is that like
Yeah.
How does that relate to like the source material or like the reference and like or is it something you just kind of like pushed?
So when you have the actual penguins that I pulled the pieces from, if you look at their fur, it's not just like your black and white or whatnots. They've got these bluish colors on the fairy penguins, and then like the spots are the same way, but the yellow-eyed, and you'll have to edit it out with the correct name, penguin is got like these pinks and purples and like light shades of yellow all through their hair, just like on the top, and it just kind of fades into that tuxedo. Yeah.
All right. Well,
So yeah,
thanks, Luis.
enough of me. Let's look at other art.
Yeah. All right. Zero, you want to go?
Sure.
Oh,
So
started off with a small little thumb there, huh? Look at
yeah. I was trying to get a lot of like the forms and the shapes that I kind of wanted to make work in big, in the small, as we tend to with thumbnails. But like I was afraid of going to like sports team symbology, like
Sure.
like the Timberwolves, right? Like so I started going with different stuff, and then you see the resistance loon right there, and I'm like, oh, maybe I could make it work with like a wolf face or something. But I went like really, I started looking at like Minnesota's symbols as much as I could, because I was like, well, this will symbolize resistance and Minnesota as a whole. I'm like, well, what makes Minnesota? So I started looking at the various different state symbols, and then I found out that like a lot of them are like unofficial.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool because just kind of like meld it all together into the design. So I kind of went from like a slightly 3/4, not so side on, not so front facing. I was going to go with a very symmetrical look, but then I was like, well, that's kind of boring for me at this stage. So I was like, maybe I'll do something different. And then I was like, oh, like, I'll start looking at like the composition and but the whole point was a ice crushing, like just ice crushing and anger. And oh, that's a very angry wolf. But the whole point was I was feeling that powerlessness. I was feeling that distance, because I don't live in Minnesota, but like that distance feeling of like, what can we do? So kind of like to your point, Jake, on abolishing that system, abolishing that, like, much like many systems historically in the US should have been abolished at some point, and then they weren't, and then they were replaced by other things that were like equally, if not worse, because they were not under like any purview of like laws and stuff. My thought was kind of the same, like, like get out there and like crush ice. And that's why I cheekily named it Crushed Ice. I know I'm a nomenclature genius. But within all of this, like, angry, it's actually, I think, the Small Dipper. Maybe I'm incorrect on that.
I think you're right.
The little. And then I was like, oh, like, it'd be really cool if like one of the stars is like the loon's eye, and then I completely like abandoned that idea immediately. So
yeah, I'm not seeing any
lasers
lasers coming out of the loon eyes, which is scientifically accurate. So
kind of. I'm sorry, that's disappointing on my part.
I
pride myself on scientific accuracy.
For those people that don't know, which I don't even know if you guys are aware of this because it's a pretty local thing, but Minnesota recently had you just put the flag in, That's a new flag that was voted on, but some of the submissions for Minnesota's flag originally were like literally just a loon shooting lasers out of its eyes for no reason at all, and it almost like it got pretty far into the like maybe this is our flag competition.
Nice.
That's awesome. That reminds me of like whenever like a mayor is elected and it's like a dog, like instead of being like just because he gets like enough like popularity. But that would have been cool too. I really liked the design because it explains that it's like the shape of Minnesota, but also like the lakes, and so I thought that was really, really cool. And then they got the state flower and the state butterfly, I believe, state insect, which is like I believe it's a monarch butterfly.
Monarchs, yep.
I tried to also kind of put a lot of the, not just the anger, right? Like I try to put like the beauty of Minnesota, if you will, like the state flower and like the juxtaposition of like having something so visceral as like a wolf biting down, with also like the iconography of butterflies and beautiful birds flying without lasers. I'm sorry. So that's kind of where my head was at.
Okay, edit
at this point.
It's fine.
Yeah, we can fix it in post, for sure. I was also at the time I was vacationing with my girlfriend at her grandma's place. So as she was cooking us some delicious meals, I was just like, all right, well, I gotta get this done. We gotta finish up. It. No, for sure, absolutely. I was like, this is important, and they were like, oh, beautiful. So no, it was enjoyable. It was very enjoyable to do. Yeah, just adding a couple of things here and there. So this was actually a pretty late addition to the whole composition, but I felt that it was a little bit empty on that side, and I just didn't want to make more ice. Get it. And so I added a broken crown, and I added like a whole no kings situation, to kind of not only fill that spot, but also have something else breaking that I think is vastly needed in a so-called democracy, right? Like make sure that there's no sort of dictatorial tendencies. But beyond that fact, then I kept on rendering as much as I could. And then in a little bit, I'll show a little trick that I was talking to you guys about in chat.
Oh yeah,
about
I
like
was
just
excited.
grabbing this. Yeah, it's probably gonna go by very, very quickly, but it was just grabbing this, flattening it. Here's just adding a little multiply layer, just for some deeper, funner shadows. Some color in there as well, and I basically grab all of this, flattening it as I had it, and then there you go, that was it. And cranking out the levels, so it was like almost like a holographic, like very deep saturated colors, putting that into a pin light layer and lowering the opacity, and then with a mask going in there and deciding where I wanted that new color to be in. So like you can see somewhere in the eye there's like green, somewhere in the top main there's more.
So to walk through that again, you create a new layer, you max out the levels.
Copying this, so
I
basically
copy the whole thing.
duplicate.
Yep. You max out the levels. You said you set it to lighten or something.
Pin light.
Oh,
so
pin light.
I max out the levels.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, with like very high saturation, pin light, and then lowering the opacity of that layer, and then masking with an airbrush where I wanted that new color to be or not to be. Right?
Yeah.
Not to distract.
Did you do a little bit of chromatic aberration too, or was that part of that?
I did. You caught me. You caught me.
I mean, I know it's a gimmicky. I love it, especially if it's done.
I love
subtly.
it. It's great.
I did the same thing. So.
Yeah. Great minds, man. Great minds. Yeah, and also like something else that I learned from another friend of mine. I ended up which is actually pretty standard, I think, in a lot of cinematic stuff, like grabbing a new layer, putting it on gray, and putting a ton of noise in it, putting in an overlay, and then lowering the opacity to like a 5 to a 10, so you get that like nice grainy look that you get with paper. I like it.
No, I'll have to go over that with you a little bit too, because there's a lot of like cool, very easy to teach like finishing tricks. It'd probably be good to like make some shorts on this channel or something just to show people some of those things, because they're really easy to implement most of the time.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I did actually use last one that like you taught me, which was the magenta with the like cerulean blue and then lowering the overlay. I did that. I was like, oh, I like that. That's some good depth in there.
Yeah, that it's weird because I'm always worried it's gonna ruin it. Like it's always gonna look too like hot or pink or whatever. But when you like super lower it down on overlay and you turn it off and on, it's like it almost always just looks like more alive. Like it looks less flat.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit of like color variation. It does a lot, but cool.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, nice job. All right, last but not least.
Cool. Let's do this. All right, so I mean, we're probably gonna have to talk a lot more after because this is a very quick video. So I paint quickly, just by my nature. This is the longest version of the video, but ultimately I like to block out and just values and stuff. And when I was painting this, man, I was very angry. It was like, I think the night of Alex Pretty's shooting.
Yeah.
So I was very angry. You could feel my anger with like all the strokes. You'll notice that I kind of moved the lettering around because it kind of looked like, because I had like fuck ice, but it was like the FU on one side, the CK on the other side. So it made it look like Loksii. So it kind of looked like one word. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like I want to make very clear what I want to say, you know? I don't want to make it lost on people that I genuinely believe if there was ever a time that America could have fascism, this is it, you know? Like this is definitely not lost on me anymore. Government overreach should be highly skeptical, and we should be highly concerned, whether it's abroad. I think we do it a lot abroad, so we're kind of like, meh, whatever, you know, we're pretty apathetic to it. But now that it's happening internally, you know, even at a small scale, I was trying to convince somebody. I was like, dude, how do you think fascism gets instilled? It's because of like a police force, a self-funded police force. When we start seeing people like billionaires putting money into our federal government to fund ICE, what are we doing here? You know, this is not good news bears, you know.
Something that I am glad that we're doing, not to bring it back to the pieces that we've made, is that every single time that, to my very small audience on Instagram, I can show like, whether it's like stories or reels or make a piece about something that's like affecting a lot of people, I love that I get a lot of messages going like, thank you, right? Like, hey, this made me feel really good. I'm glad that somebody's thinking about me, thinking about this. Like, you know, my family's going through this right now. So I think that like making this art that we're making is important in that regard, right? Because you make people feel community, you make people feel heard, you make people feel not invisible. And I think that that is the world, right? Like I believe there's a Jewish saying of like, you know, save one person, you save the world, right? Like, and it's true, right? Like, if you're able to make somebody feel that they're not alone, especially in times like these, it makes a world of difference, right? Because like one little act like that can save one person, and they can go and save somebody else, and they can go and help somebody else. Like there's many ways of resisting, you know, it's not just being on the streets. But if you can, you should. So that's my 2 cents on this, and I think that's going back to Jake. Yeah.
I mean, well, you said it. There's many ways, and art is an incredible way, you know, to show like even remorse and even like joy. Like we were just talking about, like the Bad Bunny concert. Like that was incredible. You know, it's another way. Yeah. It's another way of protesting, because what it does is like, look how things could be, y'all, if we're just like fucking united.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like it's just like, can we, like when I saw all the people trying to hate on the Bad Bunny, it just felt like you know, there's like a really cool party that like we've been invited to, and they feel like they're not invited to. And it's like, bro,
They were.
Everybody's invited. You just chose not to go. Like
Yeah.
you were invited too.
You
I don't
chose
know why you're being
not to
such
be
a
there, dog.
why you being a bozo? Like of course you could come hang out, you know? I'm just
Yeah.
like, no,
Yeah.
I don't like the lemonade you guys
Yeah.
are serving there. It's like, oh, all right, well, listen, you know? And but it's like it's just so obviously more fun and enjoyable. And like I said in the very beginning of this podcast, like I've been to these environments. Like I've went to Latin clubs, I hang out with Latin people, and it's just so much fun. And they're such a welcoming group of people, you know? I'm married to
Yeah,
one,
we
dude.
are.
Yeah, dude.
Well, and frustratingly, like I know a lot. I have like relatives and stuff that are in rural areas, and there's like it's easy to assume like, oh, they're conservative, and a lot of times they are, and because of that, they're like hateful people and whatever too. But like, again, it cuts both ways. Like all the people I know in those communities are super welcoming, even if I've heard some like absurd stories of literally a friend of mine who was Asian got invited into this guy's home, saw that he like pieced it together this guy was a neo-Nazi after a little bit, just based on his like stuff in his house, and he's like starting to feel uncomfortable, and the guy noticed. He's like, what's up? He's like, I mean, you got some neo-Nazi stuff in here, I'm Asian. And the guy's like, oh yeah, but like you're welcome here, like you're one of the good ones. That's a whole nother like weird thing we don't have to get into. But point being, like even people that are like you would assume are just like hateful people can connect with other people, and like, you know, it's like there is that gateway there, and I think we just have to like be open, and like I just wish we could all get on the same page and not be so divisive. I honestly hate this video. Like I never wanted to do anything remotely about politics or about anything, and I this whole video was not meant to be political, but like I never wanted to do anything like this, and like my YouTube channel and my platform is never meant to be about anything like this. It was supposed to be about just art for fun's sake. Even when I do art, I remember in high school being told like, oh, you should do more stuff that's more emotional, like express yourself, and I was like, nah, I just kind of want to draw like cool shit. Like I just want to draw like dragons and whatever. Like I'm a shallow artist. But you know, like I'm upset that we're here. You know, it's like I don't want to be talking about this stuff either. So I apologize to anybody who, I'd be shocked if you made it this far and you're still tuned in if you're like irate at the content of this video. And I promise future videos will not be about this stuff. But this, to get back to what you were saying, AJ, I hit a point where it was like, I can't just sit on my hands with this one. Like, it's too close to home to me. It's too personal. I need to just help people understand what's going on, if nothing else. And I'm not trying to like push anyone to a certain side as much as just say like, this is what's happening. This is what I'm seeing. This is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Just maybe like take my word for it and like, you know, start thinking about what you're promoting.
And on that, like even when I make art, like as an artist, we have days where we're like, fuck this, I don't want to do this anymore. I have a little sign on my wall right in front of me that says it's not about you. And it's not a sign to anyone else, it's a sign to me to remind myself that sometimes when I make something, it's not about the likes, it's not about the whatever, it's about the one person that found joy in it, that found a connection and said, well, holy shit, someone knows who I am, someone sees me. I will probably never meet that person, but I know that I changed their life, and I have to remind myself of that. So making this video, it sucks. Nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody wants to do any of it, but it's not about us. It's about everyone else. So sometimes it just needs, someone needs to watch this video and go, well, shit, I didn't know that. You know, I didn't know that brown people came in 35 colors. That's fine.
No, seriously, guys, thanks for showing
Of
up.
course.
I just one last kind of note about this kind of a thing is like I reached out to a lot of people, and like part of the things that some of the things that got to me were like people that didn't want to participate in this because of the potential, like the inflammatory nature of the topic, and it's like I get it, but also like you got to be able to talk about this stuff sometimes. and everyone's got like different risk factors that they're dealing with. Like if you have a business and you don't want to associate that business with certain things or alienate certain people, I get that, but I just it takes courage to talk about this stuff, and I'm honestly scared to post this video, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And just thanks for showing up and talking about this stuff too, guys.
I'll say this because I don't invalidate the fear of like getting people to like, people are gonna be mad one way or another, right?
Yeah.
And I think that the spirit of why I posted what I did was literally because I thought to myself, the fact that I am afraid is like it's a signal, you know?
Yeah.
And that what I need to make sure of is that I made a very clear point where I stood during all this stuff, you know? I don't think it's I see people try to make other people speak out like almost aggressively, and I think it's fair. I understand, but it's also, listen, man, some people have different lives and there's just more risk that they are too afraid to challenge. So for instance, I would have loved, like I thought about this, like I would have loved to go to Minnesota to protest. I actually felt that way, you know, but I didn't, because I genuinely am afraid of the consequences of potentially orphaning my kids and leaving my wife behind. I don't know if that could have happened. There's like probably a low likelihood, but it's not zero anymore. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a struggle for me being here. I actually didn't go to any of the protests because it's like you just don't know what's going to happen.
Terrifying.
You know?
And and so that's the point, right? So this is at the very least what we could do is to give fuel to people. Like maybe they didn't understand some of the points that we made. I think every one of us was trying to do a good job of giving some, you know, compelling arguments for why we think this is immoral and why this is a problem. You know, if you strongly disagree with, like, at least like I said, some of the principles of what I think we all agree with is, for instance, the human aspect of it. Like, where's your humanity? Like, understand that this is scary if you're that easily swayed that human life is that like throwawayable, you know? Like I'm trying to speak to those people who are like might have had that position before, and just it's like you were saying, like Luis, like if this happened to one of your friends, would you feel the same way? Would you be like, yeah, he had it coming? You know, I don't know. I don't think people would have that position if they actually knew them personally. You know, like I felt very strongly before we came into this conversation, but then when he started talking with me about like, oh, this happened to me, because I knew some people peripherally, but I didn't know I knew somebody like directly affected as much as you've been, you know?
Yeah. And it, like directly is even like directly, I guess, like I know people that are extremely upset, or like personally I know people that have been affected, but
well, no, you
I'm
live in
super
Minneapolis.
Fortunate. Yeah.
Like you're afraid to go outside. It's happening to you, brother.
Right.
Like if you did go protest, you could get a rubber bullet to your eyeball, dude. Yep. Like it is not like you just made a choice that we all respect, that you're like, no, I'm just gonna sit this one out and do some other stuff, like do a podcast, do some art. Like that's great, you know? But if you decided to do again what I was flirting with, yeah, you could have easily been hurt or worse, murdered, you know? So yeah, I understand you're trying to be like, not like me personally. No, you literally just told us you didn't want to leave your house at sometimes. Like that's affecting you, brother. Like it's actually happening to you. Like I could leave my house easily. You know, I've been doing it. I've been going out doing all kinds of stuff, right? That's because I don't live in a situation where that's happening to me, you know? But like I said, reverse Uno, would I be okay if this was happening in my little town that I'm living at? Nah, not at all.
Right.
You know? And so that's why I think it's important. And for anyone who's listening to this last thing, like, absolutely, like, even if you strongly disagree and strongly, you know, oppose kind of the position that's being held here, I think it's still not a great idea to like quote unquote unfollow or unsubscribe or any of that, because honestly, you wouldn't want that to happen to you either. Again, reverse Uno. I personally follow some people that I like. I'm telling you, I fucking strongly disagree with, you know, but I still engage with it because I don't want to like be blinded by what I believe are other people's opinions, because it helps me shape mine, because it just does, you know, like I just start to have a better worldview, I feel. And I think it's like you said, guys, like we're being more divided. And so when you start shutting doors, that's what keeps you divided.
Yeah, fuck that. Come to the barbecue. We'll fucking
we'll still have ribs.
Dominoes.
Yeah, you guys are invited. You guys just keep not wanting to invite yourselves. You guys are all invited to watch some Bad Bunny, dude. Dance some salsa.
Thanks again for watching, guys. Again, there will be a link in the description below where you can donate to the International Institute of Minnesota. And additionally, you can find an Etsy listing where you can buy prints that were shown in this video to also donate to that same institution. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I hope you learned something. I certainly did. And next time we'll be back to our regular content. Thanks.